G'day guys, this is Naroz Anis from Villawood IDC, just doing a little diary of a detainee session. So you all would have seen the BuzzFeed story about the cash for visas matter, especially how it's been ongoing since I first blew the whistle about many months ago. Nobody has to date came in to get any further evidence or statement from me. And I had further evidence of the ongoing nature of this cash for visa corruption matter. And I contacted Peter Dutton's office. Nobody is actually interested to investigate these matters. Actually sends the matter back to DHA. DHA sends the matter back to Ackley. It's going in circles, and it's up for speculation that why they're not investigating this matter. And I mean, it's open to infer for me that I say these people know who exactly is the corrupt people within the DHA. And those people are potentially very powerful. And if they end up catching them and charging them, they're going to start talking more, and it's going to open up a whole Pandora box. Now, people ask me, what are my motivations to expose this? A number of them. The Australian public need to know what's being done under the name and all this border protection bullshit, which is being spoken about in the media day in, day out. Well, I say the poster boys, the poster people for the Section 501 laws are getting out, paying these bribes. How are we affected is because every delegate, they say, every delegate of the minister has got certain KPIs to meet. So they've got to affirm, or sorry, what's the better word? They've got to cancel a certain amount of visas, and they've got to grant a certain amount of visas. So when all those spaces for the grant of visas is being filled up by the people who bring the bribes, then we end up in the category which has to, for the people which, for the visas which has to be cancelled. Give you my example. On the 5th of October 2016, just returned home from work one day. I was getting ready for gym. I used to live in Footscray, nice apartment opposite the Bulldog Stadium. And there's a knock on the door. And I answered the door, and it's the Australian Border Force. I said, "G'day, mate. How can I help?" And they come in. They're like 5 of them, start walking in my apartment as if they own it. And they say, well, I still remember their words. They're stuck in my head. Because you have some traumatic event in your life, you remember what happened. They say, "Mr. Anis, please sit down." I sit down. They're like, "This minister is a badass." Good. That's what they said. "This minister is a badass, former copper. And he's changed the laws. So your partner visa has been refused. And under the new legislation, we have to place you in detention." I was like, righto, can I call my lawyer? And they took my phone away from me. They're like, "Nah, until you sign here, here, and here, until we kosher, you're not calling anyone." So I signed, I played ball. Long story short, ended up being in arbitrary detention where I remained. In 2017, I won the Federal Court of Australia appeal by consent. And one of the grounds of my appeal was the apprehension of bias of the AET. And the minister didn't even want to contest the case. Minister conceded the application, so I won the case by consent. The matter went back to the AET and was heard by a Deputy President Forgy. I was represented in the hearing by Julian Burnside QC, Karina Ford, instructed by Karina Ford lawyers, and a junior barrister. We had a very solid case. But Deputy President Forgy affirmed the decision of the delegate to refuse me a visa. I say on political grounds. I've written a blog about it, which is available on my website, narozanis.com. It's under the topic of AET. Now, now you make what you want to make out of it. This same tribunal member, Deputy President 4G, about 1 month to 2 months later, she hears a case of a white Christian Englishman who had stabbed his wife to death. About 13 times he stabbed his wife to death in front of his children. Got 17 years jail sentence for that. Now the CM member of the AAT, Deputy President 4G, declares him a person of good character who should be released back to the Australian community. Now let that sink in. I mean, this is what I'm dealing with. I'm handpicked by this government for persecution. We're going to court again this Friday, the 20th of December 2019, for a full federal court hearing, challenging that AAT decision. Pay tribute to my lawyers, Karina Ford, lawyers in Hugh Watkins, one of my barristers, led by Julian Burnside. Anyways, getting back to this matter of cash for visas. When I first blew the whistle, sorry, technical difficulties. So when I first blew the whistle, Minister Dutton came on record and publicly released some false and misleading information about me. I lodged a complaint against Peter Dutton with the Office of the Australian Information Commissioner that he has misled the Australian public about me by releasing false information about me. During that conversation, there were a lot of emails being exchanged between myself and Peter Dutton's office. That was part of the complaints process. And during that process, Minister Dutton's office admitted that they made a mistake, Minister Dutton just threw a departmental official under the bus, that the departmental official gave him the wrong information, and he just released that into the media about me. But the point being, I said to the Minister Dutton in the email, I said, you're the Minister of Home Affairs. You're responsible for Australian Federal Police, ACO, Department of Immigration Border Protection, Australian Border Force, and etc. I mean, either you're extremely incompetent, that you can't even get my basic immigration history right, or you're just blatantly lying. And I said, I don't feel like you're incompetent. You more than likely lied and intentionally released that misleading information about me into the media. And it surprisingly, he went into bat for the drug kingpin William Betham. Mr. Dutton, who is stronger border protection, we're gonna deport these drug dealers, we're gonna blah, blah, blah. He went into bat for a drug kingpin who was sentenced to 10.5 years jail by the Supreme Court of Queensland. And a significant amount of police and federal police crime commission resources were actually utilized to get this person convicted. In a couple of months, he brags about paying an 80K bribe and get his visa. Now, Minister Dutton initially claimed that, the matter never came to his desk, and now it can be revealed the matter actually did went to Minister Dutton. So, who is a liar here? I mean, guys, we all know. So, the point being, with such a minister responsible, I mean, he's the most powerful minister in Australian history. And that's the state of affairs of our Department of Home Affairs and Immigration Border Protection. There's no integrity left. People are paying bribes, and I can't emphasize enough. People are paying bribes and getting their visas. And there's no investigation body able or willing to investigate this matter. It's just sitting on the table. So people, you gotta demand some answers. You gotta call your local member of parliament, you gotta call your local senator and ask them, demand that this matter be investigated publicly. So that's what I had to say about the cash for visas matter. I mean, by the way, the evidence, the further evidence which I had, I shared that with Senator Nick McKim's office and with BuzzFeed journalist, which was explosive. For legal reasons, we did not disclose the nature of evidence into the public. I mean, I welcome if in the future there's any competent body of investigation, they're welcome to approach me and I'm happy to pass that evidence on. Now, I also wish to say that Minister Coleman is on leave from his ministerial duties for personal reasons. Kind of aware what those reasons are. Don't want to say it publicly. And I just want to wish Minister Coleman well and send him positive thoughts and prayers. And I really hope that Mr. Coleman, whatever is going on in his personal life, it gets better. Because I genuinely feel that Minister Coleman is a good person. Yes, he didn't release me from detention, didn't action the Section 195A referral. His own department on two occasions sent my case to Minister Coleman with the recommendation that release me from detention on a bridging visa. And it met the ministerial guidelines. All Minister Coleman had to do was circle on a box that he accepts the recommendation of his own department. I mean, it just, I don't know, we're living in a democracy, guys, yeah? You remember the Aubier case where the department advised the minister don't release them, and the minister went against the advice of his own department and released those people? Well, in my case, the department said to release me, and the minister said, didn't even look at it. But anyway, my case, I can speculate that Minister Coleman was under a lot of pressure from Peter Dutton. And well, you know, who isn't scared of Peter Dutton? But in any event, I've seen Minister Coleman grant a lot of people visas under compassionate grounds. I commend him for that. He's a good person, and I really, really hope that he recovers well and he gets back to his ministerial duties. By the way, I've got heaps of more blogs lined up of public interest. I'll give you a hint. There are two blogs which will be coming up. One of them is a person who came on a boat to Australia. He was granted a visa. Now that particular person is wanted by an anti-terrorism court in his home country. He has been granted a visa, is living in Australian community. So I'm going to write about that in detail with evidence, as I did with William Betham case and the rest of the case. Anybody who's been following me knows I'm a man of my word, and anything I say, I prove it with hard facts and evidence. So guys, this is like the fourth bloody Christmas spending in arbitrary detention away from my partner. I'm fighting by the book, being an idolist. So I need your support. I need your support to keep bringing you the truth. So please become a Patreon. It's as little as $1 a month. It just helps me get the very basics, like a mobile recharge card, things like that. And yeah, on that note, just be kind to each other. The driving force of life is love. We all just want consciousness, having different experiences. Love you all, guys. I'll speak to you soon.